This is the Mobile Home Park Lawyer Podcast with Ferd Neiman. If you're looking to generate wealth and passive income in the lucrative world of mobile home parks, you're in the right place. You'll discover solutions to the common legal and operational pitfalls and how to optimize parks to maximize income. Your host is in the trenches. He's a real estate attorney, financial analyst, and mobile home park investor and operator. Now, let's turn it over to Ferd Neiman.
Welcome back, Mobile Home Park Nation. Ferd Neiman here again, another episode of the Mobile Home Park Lawyer Podcast. Got another great guest for you, fellow podcaster. He's a broker. Got a great brand. I'm kind of fond of it because it's similar to mine, but on the brokerage side. Please help me welcome my guest, Max Baker. Max, how's it going, man?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. And it's a long time coming. I know you're a popular guy these days, being the attorney that is the Mobile Home Park Lawyer.com. So congrats to all your success and what you are doing for the industry. I'm grateful for you.
No, thank you. Likewise. And so I see your stuff all the time. I saw you recently, a few weeks back at a conference. We decided to get together on this. So I know your background, but for those of our audience that do not, maybe give us a little bit of your background and how you got into MH.
The way back story is I was in the Marine Corps for 4 years. I was a trumpet player in the Marine Corps band. And what I was doing then is I was financing and making hard money loans to fellow Marines that were looking for short-term cash, and also people that were looking to get an upgraded musical instrument. I went out and bought it for them and took payments on it, just like a Lonnie dealer would. And then my dad bought a park in, I believe, Aiken, South Carolina. And he said, Max, do you want to invest in a mobile home? It's about the same price as this trumpet you just bought this guy, which was around $3,500. And this was back in 2004. And I said, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And it was like, I went in, and I was living in California at the time. And I was like, okay, let's do this from afar. And I hired him when I got out in 2005. I did a few of them over there in his park, and I was managing the contractors, rehabbing them and finding tenants, and then ended up selling them for cash eventually. And then I just had I had an itch. I was like, man, this is pretty cool. So when I got into college, I started buying and flipping mobile homes. I put an ad in the local penny saver. We buy mobile homes in the middle of Statesboro, Georgia. And this was back in 2005 and 6. And I got a slew of calls because nobody in their right mind was buying used mobile homes back then. It was like, who is buying used mobile homes? Who's crackhead is doing this? And this was back when Frank and Dave had that website called mobilehomers.com. I don't know if y'all ever saw that. But anyways, I had the idea just from doing it with my dad. And my very first deal, I ended up in a lawsuit in court on my own because I didn't do the paperwork right on the rent-to-own contracts. And that was I got in there, and the attorney didn't even review the case until day of. He charged me $3,500, which in college, that was a lot of, it's still a lot of money, but in college, when you're just trying to make it, that's a lot of money. And I get there, and the judge is like, oh, this is you guys listen to both sides. And he's like, guys, I'm going to decide to not decide. I'm like, how does that even work? Like, can judges actually do that? So obviously they can. So I ended up, selling the home and, figuring it out. But man, that was a hell of a learning curve for me to go through that. And the next few of them I did, I obviously had the paperwork right because it had an attorney look at it versus just some seminar gave me some paperwork, and I just tried to deal with it that way. But anyway, so then from there, I went to school and got my degree in real estate. And then decided I wanted to be a broker to start out with, because I was like, the mobile home, doing the Lonnie dealers back then. And what I mean by Lonnie dealers is Lonnie Scruggs. It's a guy that basically created the buy here, pay here model for used mobile homes and mobile home parks. Great book if you've never read it. It was before Frank and Dave. And anyway, so I started doing brokerage. I started out in retail. Then I realized, like, why the hell am I doing retail? I'm going to go over to mobile home parks. Went over to Marcus and Millichap before they went public. learned a lot about brokerage. Everybody thought I was crazy for going into mobile home park brokerage back in 2009. They're like, even my dad was like, what are you doing? Like, are you sure you want to do that? Like, there's not any movement. And then I was like, really? I'm pretty sure there's movement. Because based off of my research, I had hired a couple of people in India, and we literally just data mined the whole entire state of Georgia. And then I found out that, like, wow, there is actually movement. Georgia is doing around 40, 50 transactions a year on mobile home parks. And I was like, as a broker, that's pretty good to make a living off of. So before you knew it, I was doing, I would say it was close to like 50, 60% of the transactions just in Georgia when I started.
Nice.
Because not very many people are out there doing deals. And there really was no competition in secondary, tertiary markets doing the ugly deals. And that's really what I specialized in, was the stuff that was ugly and wasn't the most beautiful mobile home park that you would see. A lot of our competitors, the bigger guys, they're more, I'd say they're more white glove brokers, versus, what I've specialized in has always been the stuff that has got high returns, a little rough around the edges, the lagoons, a lot of park owned homes. But I will say that as a broker, and I'm kind of, touting myself here as the best broker out there, is being that I have been through all of the really crappy deals in my career. I've kind of seen it all. So when a big deal falls in our lap, or we find a big deal, like any drama that comes across it, I'm kind of like, all right, I know how to handle that. Or, oh, I can call this guy and he'll help me with navigate that. So the small and medium-sized deals have given me a hell of an education on like what to look out for. And then from there, I started buying deals. I buy parks as well. I'm lucky if I can get 1 or 2 deals a year. I don't have a massive appetite to buy a bunch of stuff. I like to kind of stick around, like, anywhere between 5 and 10 parks at a time. That's really kind of my bread and butter. And I don't need any more than that. So I'm happy doing the brokerage thing. We've since expanded. We're in 36 states now. I'm licensed in 9 of them, and I've got a bunch of relationships with other brokerage stuff, other brokers out there that let me work in these other states. And we've got a lot of stuff cooking. We've gone out and researched and found all the recent transactions in all these 36 states. So like, we know who the active buyers are. So when a broker comes on our team and they're like, we want to specialize in Maine, I'm like, all right, well, in the last 12 months, here are all the active buyers in that state. They've all transacted. This is what they all price per pad. So if you kick up a deal, we've already got a laundry list of buyers ready to go that have transacted really in these deals. And we've also looked up the lenders. So not only do we have the buyers, we've also got all the lenders that have financed all the deals that have transacted. So we've got a pretty good niche for, just because I'm a data junkie. In case you don't notice, we've got like office space in Bangalore. There's about 10 people over there that all they do is rent comps, sales comps. They do back of house management for our properties. We've got about 25 people on our team. We've got 5 brokers, pending another 2 coming on board. So it's been a challenge just to grow because we're all 1099 and we're all virtual. We're a completely virtual company. So I've had to create a culture to how to manage and operate salespeople that are 1099. That's been a hell of a learning curve to go through, because when they're W-2 versus 1099, it's just a different style of management that you've got to deal with brokers and whatnot. So I kind of went on a tangent there, Ferd, but that's kind of me in a nutshell.
All right, well, lots to unpack. I know I've heard you on your podcast as well talk about these tertiary markets, secondary markets. So how is today? We're recording this in October of 23. I think from what I can tell, the market's really slowed, less transactions closing. How has that impacted your business? Or have you noticed a difference on the deals that are the tertiary markets? Are those ones unscathed, or are they harmed more? And how's that impacting cap rates?
So in a nutshell, whatever the interest rate is at, 200 basis points above that is typically where it's going to trade. Some people will do 250 basis points. So if you're paying an 8 cap, or better yet, if you're having to pay 8% on your money, then you're looking at a 10 cap is where people are wanting to buy stuff at. 7, 9. So it just depends on what kind of lender you have. The stuff I specialize in, we do the bigger deals. Based off of our research, 80% of the market out there is below 50 units. And the other 20% are the bigger deals. And a lot of our competitors like to specialize in the big deals. There's bigger paychecks in those for them, but there's just way more velocity in the smaller ones. And the reason why is there's way more creative financing, a lot more JV. Like we're, as a broker, we're coming to the table to these sellers who are like, hey, we want to get this, and we're trying to get this, price on it. And I was like, well, you're not going to get that because of where interest rates are, A, and B, if you do want to get that, we can do owner financing, or B, if you want to stay in the deal, we can JV the partnership with somebody, so that way you can participate in the growth of the upside in your community. So it really just depends on where your debt is. And we've got a couple of lenders that we've found that we're seeing quotes in the high 7s upwards to 8.5 for community lenders, or community banks, I should say. And we had some really good luck with credit unions. Credit unions are actually the shining light right now in the interest rate world, because they're a nonprofit, obviously. So it's tough to compete for a nonprofit bank versus a community bank. Are you going to say something?
No, I see that. I see that a lot, as well as, within today's market, you're seeing more seller carry, you're seeing joint ventures, you're seeing even master lease with option to purchase. I'm curious, 2 years ago, if rates were 200 bips lower, were you still seeing the same 200 bip spread, or has it gone up or down?
I would say a couple of years ago, when interest rates were lower, I mean, obviously the spread was wider, or smaller, I should say. People were willing to be a little bit more aggressive, but it seems like right now that 200 bips is the minimum that buyers are willing to consider. And it's like compacting, like they're like, nah, I can't do it. Nah. So it's, before, people were way more liberal about what they were willing to pay, and interest rates were obviously much lower, but there wasn't as much creative financing as there is now. So it's a lot tougher to get deals done, but we're still getting deals done. I mean, the thing is, there's always going to be divorces. Unfortunately, people pass away, and families need to cash out, and there's sickness and stuff. So it's just there's always going to be movement in these smaller to medium sized deals, albeit they're a little tougher to get through to the closing table. But a lot of times there's a lot of meat on the bone, because you probably know this, Ferd, but a lot of these mom and pops don't raise rents continuously. They don't take care of stuff. They don't put reserves away. The roads start deteriorating. So there's just a laundry list of things that they don't do. They're not like the 5-star communities where they actually put reserves away to buy deals. So
well, and all else being equal, the smaller deals, typically the seller has not received as many phone calls, right? So their prices are just naturally more reasonable. If you've got a 250 site community right now, you've been found and you've received 100 phone calls and postcards.
Correct.
And some of those are at really strong numbers, and perhaps even overpriced numbers. So at some point, mom and pop let her go, right? I think there's very few 250 site parks left that mom and pop own that are occupied and stable and running well and worthwhile, at least worthwhile at a stabilized cap rate. So I definitely see opportunities in smaller deals. Obviously, there's lots of pros of bigger deals, not just on the broker side, but on the operator side. That a $10 rent increase moves the needle quite a bit on 150 sites, not on 15, and then just economies of scale. So, yeah, pros and cons for sure. What else you see in the marketplace, or what are projections you have right now? I mean, I feel like if the transactions volume slowing, but for example, if a couple of years ago my interest rate was 4% and I bought at a 6 cap, I would rather have a 7% interest rate and buy at a 9 cap. Now, can I get that transaction done in 9 cap? Either way, I've got a similar cash flow spread, But if I'm buying at that 9 cap, at some point my rate may go back down. I can refinance. Where I feel like people are getting in trouble, or are going to be in more and more trouble, and probably more in the apartment space than MH. I read an article this morning where these apartment guys were buying at the 3.5, 4 cap, including with short-term loans of say 3-year balloon, and then like, oh well, we'll just refinance out of it at a 4.5 cap 3 years from now, and by then rents will be 20% higher. And the problem is, if rents keep going higher, occupancy goes down, and we all know interest rates have gone way up. So they now have a business plan they can't exit from, they can't implement, and they can't really exit.
We've actually been monitoring all the sales over the last 10 years in these 36 states, and we're seeing which deals traded during certain years, and then we're contacting them to see if they are going to sell, or B, they need to refinance, or if they're in trouble, like we'll go out and see what their plan is. A lot of times they're like, look, I'm, either in trouble because of what our debt payment is. I mean, because you got to realize, like, some of these balloons coming up, I mean, they were buying stuff at like 4.5, 5.25, and now they're going to jump up to like 8.5, 9.
Right.
So if you bought that thing with a spread of nothing, like, I mean, I'm sorry, y'all, but it is what it is. The writing's on the wall. So, make your money, and some of these people are just going to have to sell, or going to have to go back with their hat in hand to the lenders and say, look, I can't pay that based on what we paid. So what do you recommend? So it's just, it's going to be interesting. But movement breeds wealth, right? So I'm cautiously optimistic about it. But I really don't feel like the industry is going to hurt too much like the apartment world. The apartment world was, I think, heavy on just trading paper. That's what they call it, just to buy deals. But there's a lot of upside in a lot of mobile home parks. So if you bought a deal that had a ton of upside, or even like, 20, 30% upside, my humble opinion is you're going to be okay if you actually performed at that level. It's just these other food groups that are in commercial real estate. I'm a little nervous about for them.
Right. No, I think MH is more insulated as well. I mean, in particular, you've got more room for rent growth. You've got the ability to infill lots. You probably bought it at a more attractive cap rate, so you can absorb a little bit of pain. But I am seeing lenders more and more conservative lately. It's October 5th when we're recording this. And in the last 3 years, maybe deals have dropped because of the lender, and I just didn't find out from our clients. But in the last 3 years, I've never had a client say, bank pulled the plug last minute for no reason. And that's happened 3 times in the last 3 weeks.
It's scary with that part.
Yeah, like, and they're asking me, like, what can we do? Can we fight the bank? Can we sue? And I'm like, let me see your term sheet and your commitment letter. And the term sheet says, typically, this is a non-binding term sheet subject to lender's final underwriting, appraisal, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, do you have a loan commitment? And they're like, what's that? I'm like, well, that's the commitment. And that generally comes last minute, a few days before closing, generally on like a Fannie Mae deal, even it's only a couple days before closing. And on a lot of local banks, you never even get one. They just say, oh, we're good. Oh, closing's on Friday. And then they close. So that was clearly the commitment. They honored it, but a lot of banks are resistant to providing a commitment. And then I've had 2 deals. One of them was mine years ago, where the bank pulled the plug last minute. And it was like, wait, you already told me I had approval. They go, well, you do have approval. That was from committee. It's like, who else is supposed to approve it? Well, the CEO has the right to veto. And in my case, I said, why are they vetoing it? They go, they don't like that state. I'm like, you've known.
Well, why'd you waste my time?
And they're like, yeah, we didn't realize that. We figured you were a repeat borrower. We'd follow you a new state, and he just doesn't like that state. And then the one with the client last week, this was like 5 years ago on that one. So it actually did happen to me, but we ended up finding another bank to take care of the client recently. They're like, yeah, we don't like this location because it's really dependent on oil. They're like, you've known that oil is a big industry that's generally a positive, that it's got all these jobs. I'm like, well, sorry, we're out. And I suspect it's not the truthful answer. And the bank is just like, has their own problems, their own liquidity problems, because this is a repeat customer. They own probably I don't know, 1,500 sites or something. So, pretty good size operator, strong balance sheet, and the bank just left him at the altar. And
Yeah,
they're $100,000 into DD.
that's tough, man. Yeah.
So just lessons learned, check in with your banker regularly. This is probably not the time to go to a new bank, even if the rate's a little lower. Stick with the relationship you already have, where you have a higher certainty of them honoring their, quote terms.
Yeah. I mean, that's great advice for it. I mean, advice that I'm going to take,
Yeah.
because we dealing with, I mean, we've got 12 parks under contract right now. So it's like a lot of them are owner financing. There's a few of them we're placing the debt on, and that loan commitment is the all be all. Like they always wait to the last minute to give it to you. It's kind of their style. It's I mean, it's business. You understand it, but it is a little shady on how they handle it. But not much you can do about it. They make, those who have the gold make the rules, right?
Right. Well, all right, Maxwell, tell me what else you got tips for buyers. How does a buyer stand out in today's marketplace? Or they have to just look at a ton of deals, make offers on a ton of deals, or is it better to, give a specific narrow target for you to find?
I mean, the best thing that you can do for being a buyer is really figure out what your criteria is, and then just live it, breathe it, and be it. The worst buyers out there are real fickle, what they want, and trying to do this, try to do that. Like, if it meets your criteria, if you're saying, look, it's a 35% expense ratio, it's a 9 cap, this is the demos, that I'm looking for, this is the infrastructure I'm looking for, boom, pull the trigger. And it's, obviously within 10% of that is doable. But as far as like, we've got a couple of buyers that we love to sell to, because they know who they are, they know what they're trying to do, they've done so much research on themselves and what their capability is, that when they come to the table, it's like good as gold. It's like we bring them so many off-market deals just because they're just reliable. There's no drama. They don't retrade us on fees either as a broker. Like, there's some guys out there, and girls, I won't mention them obviously, but they'll come in and just retrade you at the last minute saying, look, you're not worth that fee. And I'm like, why are you saying this right at the end? We've got something in writing, and you're going to ruin the relationship. So obviously stuff like that is going to put you at the no call list of the book right there. Like, it's like we've got a blacklist in our Salesforce, is like, don't call this person, just because there's drama around them. You know what I mean? Like, as a broker, we like to do business with people that like to do business with us and make it easy to do business with. It's like park owners out there. Park owners are going to want to do business with you if you're easy to work with. But if you're constantly trying to come at them and retrade them and this and that, nickel and dime them to closing, as soon as they get a letter from me, a broker, saying, hey, here are some things that you should look out for. If you see them, then call me. I get a lot of calls from people saying like, hey, this buyer did this. He retraded me like 30% off of what he said he was going to buy it for. And I'm like, well, sorry to hear that, man. But I was like, by the way, I've got 2 or 3 other people here that would love to buy your deal, and they'll pay you full price. So it's like, you just got to be easy to deal with. The egos and the cockiness and that stuff is old school. At least in my humble opinion, when it comes to doing business. Like, obviously everybody struggles with their own ego, but it's the people that are like a couple of clients that I have that are humble but still hustle, and they make a killing. I mean, those are the ones that they're getting the juicy deals. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
no, it's good. Good thoughts. Good point. What percentage of your deals would you say that you close are on market listings versus pocket listings? And why, and when and how, why do you do one versus the other? I think I know, there's a privacy component to a pocket deal that the seller prefers, but I would think that pocket deals are going to trade for a lesser price in most instances.
So we have some competitors out there that really only do off-market stuff. They do a lot of it. And good for them. That's not our business model. The problem with off-market stuff is you can't do the impeccable front end due diligence that we do when we exclusively list something. And I'm all about I'm kind of a risk averse guy. I'm all about high probabilities. If I can increase the probability of close in any situation, I'm going to do that. So exclusive listings, that is a high probability of close as a broker. Because I mean, at the end of the day, we're just gambling our time and odds here, right? That's like literally what we're doing. And these off-market deals, albeit they are sexy, they're fun because they come in real quick and you can slam them together and whatnot. But the ones that are off market like that, personally, that are sexy and you can slam together, typically have zero drama around them. Like they don't have the lagoons, like the books and records are legit. The seller is easy to work with, so those deals are, the massive deals out there that are big portfolios. Like I see a lot of those way more often. But for us, I would say we're like an 80% exclusive, 20% off market. It's starting to teeter towards more off market as we get better at identifying all the variables that buyers look for. Like there's a couple of guys out there that specialize in lagoons. So they get a lot of lagoon deals. There's a couple of people out there that specialize in only park-owned home communities. So they get a lot of those. So as a broker, we've kind of categorized what type of buyers are out there. So we identify an opportunity and increases probability of close. So then we basically just plugging it together like a puzzle. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. So the pocket listing, and typically when you're doing one of those, to your knowledge, are you the only person working on it despite not having an exclusive listing, or are you and 10 other brokers pitching the same deal to me? Because I sometimes see, not regular, but I sometimes see somebody say, hey, pocket listing just for you, let me know today. And I'll be like, you're the third person today that forwarded that one to me. And it's it's like a daisy chain. It's not even, they're not even brokers. They're like not even wholesalers. They're just like bird dog referral people. Like, oh, but I got my fee. And sometimes they'll try to hide their fee. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes the fee is reasonable. Sometimes it's crazy high.
Yeah. So I guess the question you have is on the off market. I kind of got lost there in what you were saying.
Because I mean, in general, I mean, just as a buyer, there's this implied scenario that, hey, this is off market just to you. It's a special deal. It should be $1 million, but it's only 900. Hurry up and act. And I'm like, if it's really supposed to be $1 million, why is the guy listing it for $1 million? And we look at it, and then it's like, why me? And by the way, why did the guy give it to you? And what's your role? And am I paying your fee, or are you paying the fee? And it's is the seller? And everyone's like, oh, it doesn't really. We don't know. It feels like I don't care. It just in general feels like, does anybody know what's going on here?
Yeah.
Like some broker, and then you get data. I've had this happen where I'm like, all right, it's 40 occupied out of 50. Okay, here's my price, and then they'll send an email back like, wait, it's actually 32 out of 37. It's like, how did you not get the data right? Or brokers will say, here's the deal. 50 sites, 2 million. I'll say, how many occupied? They go, let me get back to you. What's the lot rent? It's like, and they don't want to give you the address because they want you to go around them. I'm like, you guys didn't even ask the basic 5 questions to the seller. So to me, the off-market process is mostly,
it's a shit show. Let's be real.
A waste of my time.
It's a shit show.
Yeah, maybe I'm missing out on the deals of the century.
Man. The off-market ones are your white glove deals, and like if they brokers out there that are hitting and hot, kicking the bushes and shaking the trees, are bird dogging these big guys out there, and they're shaking the tree and be like, hey, let me just bring you an offer. Let me just bring you an offer, and they just bring them an off-market offer. These other deals that are smaller, it's a lot filled with drama. For us personally. We send out about 20,000 mailers a month.
A month?
A month.
Oh, wow.
And I spend about $500,000 on mailers and research a year.
Wow.
The variable is when we get a call, those are typically true off-market deals. Like we're just getting it. And a lot of times we'll compete even on that. Like the seller will call us and say, hey, can you do a valuation? I've got 2 or 3 offers on the table. And we'll do like a real quick BPO. And there's like, oh, I want, $5 million for this. And we're like, well, why didn't you take it? And he's like, well, I just want to see what it is, see what you guys can offer. And I was like, that's a pretty good offer. I mean, if I were you, I would take it. Otherwise, if you want to list it, we can probably juice it up a little bit. But I mean, we're very, like, as a company, I tell everybody on our team, we're gamblers of time. We're always trying to increase probability. I wish I could bill out $500 an hour, but that's not how it works. We got to be real strategic on like where I'm spending my time, because like you get these daisy chain deals. I mean, we have wholesalers that hit me up and I'm like, it's crazy. I'm getting calls now from wholesalers. And it's like, the problem is the wholesalers are probably having the same issue that we're kind of having, and that is the debt market is just killing deals. So like, what you could wholesale, 24 months ago, because people could go out and get a regular bank loan, is like an 8 cap deal doesn't make sense anymore. Like it just doesn't work. So now they're calling the broker, and I'm like, I mean, dude, if you let me exclusively list it and go source the debt for you, then yeah, I'll be able to sell it at like an 8.5, maybe a 9. But like as it sits right now, like you're overpriced. That's just where you're at. And you're trying to get 50 grand on top of that. Like It's just not going to work. So, we don't, as a company, we're very picky on what off-market deals we let do. Like, I mean, we've got a couple of them we're working now, and, they come and go about as quick as a fart in the breeze. Because like as soon as we see it, we'll identify it. We'll see if the seller is reasonable and easy to work with. That's another variable. If the seller is not easy to work with, like good luck trying to do a deal slam. It's like, not only is the market harder to do deals, but if the seller's difficult too, like you just got all these barriers. So like, we'll just drop them. Like, we're not going to work that. Like we have a meeting every Tuesday, and our entire company goes over deal flow, and we talk about off market and exclusives and what's under contract. And we have a ratio, we have a scale, like 60% chance, 70% chance. And we go through we have like 60 deals all at the same time we're always looking at. And then like, I'm kind of quarterbacking it. I am quarterbacking it at a macro view. And like something will come up, and then one of the senior guys will say like, look, have you tried this on that off-market deal? By the way, I think I have a buyer that'd be interested in your off-market deal, Jeff. So we go over our entire portfolio of deals, and we're trying to just put deals together, and we talk about like what's reasonable, what's not reasonable. We actually even do, believe it or not, it's just kind of crazy. We do a regular underwriting meeting call where we get on Zoom and we just talk about underwriting. And that's really helped with off-market process. Cause like off-market deal comes in, we're able to like see, which variables are going to cause headaches with the most probable buyers that we think would take it down. So it's pretty, it's a difficult off-market stuff is squirrely, man. I commend the big guys out there that do them. There's, like I said, there's a couple of big guys that do a lot of off-market stuff. But for me, I like I said, I'm kind of risk adverse, and I like the exclusive way because it just increases probabilities of close when you, as a broker, can control the listing and can get a deal done and have like 6 months to sell it and bring multiple offers and all that jazz. So, but the off-market stuff is it's tough, man. It's I feel like you're chasing your tail, and the fallout rate on off-market stuff, for like it's high.
Oh, like fallout during contract?
Yes.
Yeah, fallout in escrow.
Extremely high.
I see a lot of it is on the law side, where clients are coming to these like, how'd you find this deal? Oh, off market. And then those, because it's a concern for us, because like obviously we bill by the hour, but it's like if there's a closing, we have a very high probability of getting paid. If we work on it for 10 hours and the guy doesn't get it done, he might not pay us. If it's a repeat customer or somebody with a strong reputation, we think they will. But so we're not as much as a broker, but we're rooting for them. Like, hey, we hope you close, but our job is also to tell you, here's why you shouldn't close. So that's just, then they appreciate that candor. But yeah, off market stuff I know is a little.
So you
higher.
see it too, like the off market stuff crashes and burns.
And sometimes we don't know if it's off market or not, but you can often tell. Just by the deal, the nature of it. On my buy side, when I'm buying deals, I've got a couple brokers that. And some of them are like pretty good sized groups, like have web page. This is what they do. There's 5 brokers there, and they'll bring me a deal. They'll be like, hey, I got a deal just for you. I've been working this guy. He's in your market. He said he'll sell. I'm like, all right, let's look at it. And I'll look at the value and I'm like, this is worth $2 million. You're asking $4. He's like, yeah, but he'll sell. I'm like, yeah, of course he'll sell. You don't have an off market listing. This guy told you, fine, bring me a buyer at $4 million, then I'll pay you. Like, that's not an off-market listing. That is this guy telling you to go away. You're too dumb to recognize that he sent you on a wild goose chase, and now you've got me wasting time on it. So we have guys now that I'm just like, delete. I'm like, I'm not, and they'll call me sometimes like, hey, did you get my listing? I'm like, I'm not even looking at your emails anymore. Your assumptions are so poor.
It's a challenge, man, because a lot of brokers are now coming into the industry that never were here like less than 5 years ago. Like there's a lot of new blood coming into it. And sure. I'm actually getting calls from brokers out there that are from different industries that are suffering, like in the retail and tenant rep stuff. And they're just like, Max, how's a mobile home park brokerage? I'm like, I tell them it's freaking hard. It's like, there's so many variables. It's not like a triple net asset where you just have a long-term lease and you go based off of credit rating. Like there's so many variables involved. And if you don't know them, like you could get you slam your head against the door so many times. Like it's just, but good on them. I mean, let them, like, I'm all about it. And the more the merrier. It's just, it puts a lot of bad taste in a lot of people's mouth when a broker does what you just described. Yeah. So
absolutely. All right, Max, this is good stuff. Any other tips or tricks before we jump?
I'd say probably for just getting in front of brokers, ones that that know what the hell they're doing. There's a lot of us out there that do. And I know it sounds a little cocky, but I mean, I've been doing this since 2009, so I kind of feel like I can say that. Yeah. But
before it was cool.
Yeah, before it was trendy. Yeah. I was the only Lone Ranger in the South, and I've bred several competitors that compete with me, and I'm still happy to be part of their journey. But I always sometimes kick myself, like, damn it, what the hell was I doing? Right. But
I told somebody yesterday, I said, what do you think my hourly rate would be if I was the only lawyer in America? And she looks at me, she's like, a lot higher. I was like, right. So I was like, supply. I was trying to explain supply and demand.
That's right. That's right. But I'd say you find a good broker, treat them like gold, because they will bring you more deal flow than you can probably take down. Don't try to retrade them on fee. Try to meet them face to face. Check in with them with a phone call or a text. Do not email, because we get a zillion emails. I know how many emails for it I get from people like, I'm looking for city water and sewer, all lot rent in a metropolitan area with owner financing at a 10 cap. I'm like,
right.
Like, all right, man. Well, me too. Right. I'm looking for one of those too. But all seriousness, like, just check in with them monthly, because we get new deals in. Like, we're probably averaging about 5 new leads. We get about a lead every day. So I would say just check in like every bi-monthly, give them a call, shoot them a text. Hey, you got anything new out there? And you'd be surprised, meeting them face to face too is a big deal, like I mentioned earlier. So that, and check out the credit unions. They're still doing deals out there if you've got a good relationship. The banks are kind of hard right now because they're touch and go. 1 month they're ready, the next month they're not. So it's just like I said, use your resources. Call Ferd if you need some lawyer tips and doing some stuff like that. Like, he's specialized, and I think Ferd, you buy deals too. So you're very much involved in it, like me. And like I said, just stick with the people that have been in the industry a long time, and you will typically do well, and treat them right. That's it.
Yeah, good tips. Max, where can people find you?
You can find us by visiting www.themhpbroker.com, the mobilehomeparkbroker.com. Or you can find me on LinkedIn. I post a lot of stuff there. Call our phone number at 678-932-0200, 678-932-0200, or email me at info@themhpbroker.com. You can also sign up as a buyer. We have a buyer's guide that you will get for free. It's a nice little book that gives you all the tips and tricks, talks about bonus depreciation, conservation easements, all these little, all this stuff that you can do when it comes to buying deals and what you should consider. So take a look at it, spend a lot of time on it. And if you're a seller, obviously give me a call. Happy to provide you a free analysis or broker opinion of value, free of charge. And we'll tell you what we think it'll trade at based off of where we're seeing lenders are at and what buyers are saying. So happy to add as much value to y'all's journey as possible. So yeah, thanks, Ferd.
All right. Thanks, Max. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Have a good day.
You too.
You've been listening to the Mobile Home Park Lawyer Podcast with Ferd Neiman. Ready to learn more? Go to www.themobilehomelawyer.com for free resources and materials to help you succeed. If you love the podcast, go to Apple Podcasts, give us your review, and subscribe today. Thank you for listening. Neither the Supreme Court of Missouri nor the Missouri Bar reviews nor approves certifying organizations or specialist designations. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.